If you're ready for lesson 2, we're going to define science literacy and discuss its role within evidence-based practice. So, defining science literacy has been done by the National Research Council. And according to them, science literacy is the ability to use evidence and data to evaluate the quality of science information and arguments put forth by scientists and in the media. So that's a pretty good definition, pretty straightforward. I decided to simplify it a couple times, of course. My simplified definition of science literacy is the ability to discern scientifically valid information from hype and speculation. A step even more simple is that science literacy is the ability to sniff out BS. So, this is an interesting bit of research that floated down the pike recently, and it's the top 10 most frequently used sources of diet and nutrition information. And this was a pretty large international sample, and sample is jargon for group of study participants. And the number one most frequently used source of diet and nutrition information is nutrition or health websites. So people naturally get online when they want to find nutrition or diet information. They don't call their dietitian or call their trainer or call their physician or call their nutritional coach. They hop online. It's right there at their fingertips. And the second most frequent source is Google or internet searches. In third place, we have diet or health books. Fourth place, actually, I was surprised at this, scientific journals or academic journals. And fifth place, nutrition scientists and PhDs. And the list continues. We have nutrition professionals at number 7. And yeah, rounding out the top 10, we got blogs or podcasts. So this is what you're contending with. And of course, the point is that when people want to find answers about a complex topic like diet and nutrition, then they are left to their own devices, and most of them go straight to the minefield of the internet. So, a word about the minefield of the internet. Here's another recent study on the quality and accuracy of online nutrition related information. It was a systematic review, and it found that about 48.8% of the nutrition information from media sources, including Wikipedia, YouTube, blogs, and other major social media platforms, had poor quality. And only 12.2% of the information in online nutrition sources was of good quality. So the remainder were a mix of moderate and varied quality. So you're seeing a very low percentage of good quality information on the internet. And that's a problem when people are not guided or advised properly on how to find high quality information. Another confusion vector that both coaches and the general public deal with is the authorship of best-selling pop diet books. And as you can see, this study right here is a percentage breakdown of the occupations of the top 100 of the occupations of the authors of the top 100 best-selling diet books. And by far and away, the champions are physicians, doctors, medical doctors, DOs. What other types of doctors are there? Who knows? Oh, there's naturopaths down there. They're a little bit down the list. And so you've got physicians taking the lion's share here of the bestseller sales. And as you look at this list and you go down the line, we actually have personal trainers in third place, entrepreneurs fourth place, editors, actors up there in the top 6, bloggers. Oh, look at that. We've got nutritionists. over there, still in the within the top 8, I can see. And third from the last are dietitians. They probably would not love to see this result. But here's the big point that I want to make. When the majority of the best-selling books are written by physicians, and we know that the minimum requirements for diet and nutrition courses in physician programs is absolutely minimal, then what we're left with is pretty much editorials written by physicians and their brilliant speculations that are pervading the bestseller list. And we can see that just by going over to major booksellers and seeing what the top selling books are. And it's safe to say that that's not a bastion of science. So let's talk about evidence-based practice, what it is and what it ain't. So evidence-based practice, to take you back a little bit, and the origins of evidence-based practice are actually in medicine. So evidence-based medicine was established quite a while back. So evidence-based fitness is a relatively new thing. So back in the Dark Ages, there really was no scientific basis upon which to draw conclusions and make recommendations and prescriptions and such. So in ancient times, we were basically left to take the advice of the most successful practitioners, whether they be magicians, witch doctors, shamans, people who did medicine, or at least tried to, and the people who got the best results, or the people who at least thought they got the best results, were espousing the various protocols and the things that supposedly worked. So that was before we had a research basis from which to draw upon. So with the march of the Enlightenment and the march of science and research, which is astoundingly, the published peer-reviewed research database is less than 150-ish years old, amazingly, particularly in the fitness and health and the biosciences. It's a relatively new phenomenon. And so once we were able to get this research basis, then we can form what's called evidence-based practice. So getting back to the slides. So you can see that what evidence-based practice is not, okay, it's not a sole reliance on peer-reviewed literature, textbooks, or the opinions of academic authority figures and organizations. Often online, you'll see people arguing, especially in the kind of the nerd niches that we nutrition folk swim around in, sometimes too much. You see people arguing on the basis of, well, check this PubMed abstract out. Just sort of, it's like an abstract fencing battle. That's not what evidence-based practice or evidence-based fitness or evidence-based nutrition is. What evidence-based practice actually is, it's a combination of the weight of the peer-reviewed literature, the data and the observations that we as professionals consistently observe in the field, and then the individualization of those information and experience sources for the programming of diets, programs for our clients. So you can think of evidence-based practice as the combination of the science basis, and there's lots of gray area in the literature, and we fill in the gray area with our field observations and experiences. So it's the combining of those two and then individualizing that towards the client. Because, sometimes when you make adjustments in client programs, you're not going to lean on research data as the unassailable gospel truth. You have to look and see how they individually respond to protocol. And sometimes you end up leaning more on what you've seen in practice, even more so at times than what you've seen in the peer reviewed literature. And that is kind of the art and science of evidence based practice, where you are you have two avenues from which to lean on, and you combine them and then you individualize. So that is true evidence based practice, not waving abstracts at each other on social media. And that completes that lesson. And we'll get back to lesson 3 and talk about types of research and their roles in the evidence hierarchy.